for myself, like, I have an assistant and she helps me a lot with LinkedIn, helps me with emails, scheduling. I do a lot myself, but I'm trying to, as the business grows, trying to then say, okay, take on some of these things. And I think what happens with a lot of small business owners is they say, okay, I've developed it, I've done it this way, and they're used to it. And their brain is wired for this system. But as you grow, as you take on new responsibilities, you're going to have to offload them or eliminate them. And often that to me is where systems, like looking at them and kind of reviewing them on a regular basis, is so important, because what ends up happening then, like, you might do great with your assistant for the first 6 months, and then things start falling through the cracks. This is a very common story I have with a lot of my clients or employees. Like, if you have a marketing director, or if you have anybody, somebody help you with sales, the idea then is proactively creating a system that allows them to give you updates where you're not chasing things down. You're not finding all this stuff out in a one-on-one, being surprised. So if you're in a one-on-one and you're finding out, which is good, one-on-one should occur, but most of the things that they share with you should already know. And then you're there to coach them and guide them versus find out about it, understand what the problem is, and then maybe from there coach. Or even if you have enough time, sometimes you're like, okay, well, keep me updated on this, right? But if you have that proactive system, so people who are listening, if you have employees or you have contractors or even customers, I find having, try to create proactive communication, have people give you updates, right? And it can be super simple and super small. So if you have an employee that's working with you, what you do is you say, okay, what we've been doing is this. You map it out. This is the way things have been working. Do you feel like anything's broken? Do you feel like anything's not working well? And of course, there's always something, a communication breakdown. There's always things that fall through the cracks. And that's nature being human, right? You forget things, you got a lot on your plate, but you go through it together. And this is the thing when people are thinking about building systems or improving them, it's really important to think about doing it with people, because that will help you get buy in. But what ends up happening is you go through that and then you say, well, how can we make this better? What can we do to help each other out? And, and if it's a new employee and they have no idea what's going on, then you have a little bit more probably freedom to then say, hey, let's do it this way. This is the way I like to work. And this is the expectations. And that's so important. If people should write that down, really have clear expectations. Now, and this is I think where there's a lot of gaps is, you might think you have clear expectations, but a lot of times you don't. And this is why creating feedback loops is so important. But we can talk about feedback loops in a little bit. But the idea is to sit down and say, okay, this is the way we're doing things. What can we do to improve this process? And what can we do to help each other? And often what ends up is trying to help, of course, the leader get more proactive with the information that they're getting. And this can be as simple as what's working well for the employee and what's not, and where are they getting stuck? Where's the bottlenecks for them? Because as an employer, you can help them remove those bottlenecks. And then as you look through those systems, what you do is you say, oh, okay, like this is happening here, this is happening here. Let's try it this. And this is the iterative process. So I worked with a client and we kind of went through this step by step. And I said, okay, when you meet with them, talk through these things. And it was funny because, he was just like, I just want them to do their effing job, right? And I'm like, yes, yeah, of course but it's just as important to help give them guardrails of what's working well for you and what's not. And this is that where I think a lot of people struggle too, coming back to feedback loops, is giving that person feedback of what's working and what's not for them.